Our next presentation is DataGEMS, Unlocking Data Through Semantic Linking, a case study for historical encyclopedias. And for this presentation, we have Thora Hagen, who is a research associate at the Leibniz Institute for the German Language in Germany.
Thank you for the introduction, and I would also like to add that my colleague Andreas Witt is also present here and will join me for the Q&A. So my talk today has, the slides look weird. I hope that's, yeah, okay, still, okay. My talk today has two aims. One is give a brief overview about a newly launched project called DataGEMS, which is a data exploration platform. And two, present also a small pilot study to show how that platform could be used in the future. Okay, yes, so DataGEMS is a recently launched project, actually at the start of this year, funded by the European Open Science Cloud. And it aims to be a platform where all kinds of data can be easily accessed. So regardless of the data format or the specific source the data might come from, a user can query the database using natural language and find related data sets regardless of discipline, for example. And to enable this interdisciplinary querying, a huge focus of the project is actually the semantic enrichment and subsequent linking of data sets to each other. And then we make the data a little bit more fair and especially better reusable. So just as an example question, could historical qualitative records and also real-time climate data predict future migration patterns, for example? So that's a very ambitious question. But today I bring another case study, which is historical encyclopedias that are across languages and knowledge domains. So with Wikipedia today, I think we can all agree that we use encyclopedias quite often. And people before the internet did too. But we hardly look at the historical records anymore. And such a corpus of historical encyclopedias can reflect the evolving world knowledge, the attitudes, and also the semantic structures of that time. So terms may persist, but context shift over time, and as with the example of the harmful language also, we may use different terms now because of connotational issues, but actually mean the same thing as in another time period. But the corpus is not very standardized. I will come to that in a minute. And the question is, how can we link such a broad shifting spectrum of data? Just a small briefing on encyclopedias. The corpus that I use ranges from roughly the start of the 18th century until the start of the 19th century. And these are conversational encyclopedias. So think about Britannica, for example, or Brockhaus in the German-speaking sphere. And these cover all aspects of everyday life. So they cover people, places, but also objects and abstract entities that I couldn't represent, but stuff like freedom, and also entirely fictional entities. And also among those are also some other specialist encyclopedias, for example, on the railway system. And I want to focus on these conversational encyclopedias for now. So how can we link all of that data? In our approach, we used actually Wikidata to conceptually align as much of the entries as possible across multiple encyclopedias. This enables, through the Wikidata classification system, some sort of topic classification and also clustering of our entries. And then we can trace differences in how these entries were described. So Wikidata has the advantage that it has a very vast taxonomy that is not limited to a specific knowledge domain. It has a very broad property spectrum, but the disadvantage is that it's less standardized. So take, for example, this entry, which is Gilder, and it's there's another entry called Gold Gilder, and we need to know that these are actually describing the same concept, but just in different encyclopedias. So by linking both of these to the same Wikidata entry, that makes it so that we can identify it as the same concept. And then, using Wikidata, we can gather further information, such as other identifiers, for example, the Virtual International Authority file that is often linked in Wikidata, but also the German standard, the gemeinsame Normdatei. But also, we can identify that there's another entry in our corpus called the Joachimsthaler that is also a currency, according to Wikidata, and then we can also group these. Now that we have identified that this is talking about the same concept of Gilder, we could compare the entries, for example, how the value of the Gilder has changed over time. But we could also look at broader patterns in these encyclopedias. So here you can see across 6 different encyclopedias sorted by time how the percentages of the entry categories changed over time. So here you can see that the proportion of concrete things such as locations and objects slightly increased over time actually, while the abstract and fictional entities decreased over time. Or we can actually go a bit more fine-grained and look at, for example, entries on science and religion over time, and see that with science it remained relatively stable, whereas the proportion of entries on religion decreased over time. Of course, you need to take into consideration that the later encyclopedias cover, of course, a lot more knowledge. So the Myers Encyclopedias has around 150,000 entries, and the earlier encyclopedias here cover around 7,000 entries, roughly. But this is just an estimate of what we can see. So my main takeaways are that because concepts change over time and across disciplines, they exhibit different word senses, and we need referential data for concepts just like we need them for named entities. So think again about the word computer, for example. If you encounter that word in a text, would it maybe mean a machine, like we use it today? Or historically, is it actually referring to a person, because it used to be a profession? So referential data, like I used Wikipedia or Wikidata in this example, then allows us to conceptually link different data sets And like in this example, we can enable a more nuanced and context-sensitive analysis of text data. But doing so bears a lot of challenges. Like here, this kind of alignment is fuzzy. Because when we say that terms change, we actually need to decide, are we talking about a new concept, or maybe the concept has broadened or narrowed in meaning, but do we still consider it as the same context? That's all for things we need to decide when aligning historically sensitive concepts. But then we can better support the humanities and cultural data, which is, coming around back again, something that DataGEMS aims to be in the future, among other things. And I'll keep it short with that because we're all waiting for the cocktails, and thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, let me check first if we have any questions in the room. Yep, go ahead.
No.
You were telling me I've been telling people all day, now I'm getting the instruction and I didn't even get it. Okay, any questions in the room? No. Okay, so let's go to the question that's come in from Slido. How is it possible to compare the knowledge given in encyclopedias in different languages?
So, because Wikidata is also multilingual, that's one of the advantages that we can use here. So if you would take, for example, the Britannica, and I had the example of Gulden in German, if we can just retrieve Gilda in the same way here, we automatically have this kind of multilingual alignment, at least in terms of a conceptual alignment. Not necessarily for the analysis part, but that's a different topic.
Great. Okay, here's the next question from Slido. Can the granularity provided by semantic linking across datasets help identify causal relationships or correlations between your results and historical events, such as the knowledge shifts reflected in 19th century encyclopedias? Microphone.
Probably. You would need a lot of background knowledge on that. But for example, for the trend for objects, for example, we may see the shift due to the industrialization. There were lots of new machines that came into the, not really public knowledge maybe at the time, but at least knowledge that was deemed worthy to be entered in an encyclopedia. But yeah, and depending on the granularity that you're looking for, I would say yes.
Maybe I can add on this point as well. I would also like to mention that this data is openly accessible and that a download of this data allows for these kind of in-depth analysis of specific points. So we have, for instance, also included an encyclopedia for women. So a women encyclopedia for the from the 19th century, and we've seen that the knowledge there is different. That, well, not the knowledge there, but the presentation of the knowledge is pretty different. Also, the concepts used and mentioned in this is different, and we would be very happy if people have used the opportunity to play around with this data set, because also abstract objects like religion or even the roles of women, men have changed over time, even in this less than 200 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So next question. Next question from Slido. Can you share your thoughts on the potential challenges involved in applying the project's findings to other fields, such as using historical data combined with real-time data to forecast trends in public health?
That's a good question. Public health. Yeah, so I think everything stands and falls with the data we are able to ingest into the platform. Just as a general benchmark, we aim to be at 1 petabyte by the end of the project. And we would need to have these health records, which I'm not an expert in, and I don't know if these are accessible or not, but I will be sure to keep that domain in mind for analysis like these to maybe be possible. But just to preface this a little bit, the platform is mainly meant for retrieval. So using a natural language question, the platform is meant to find data sets that fit your question, not necessarily do the analysis part. That's something I put on top to show how it can be used. So the Wikidata linking will be part of the platform, for example, but then the trend analysis you would have to do yourself.
Okay, next question from Slido is from Jeroen Ventura. Do you study also the knowledge shift in Wikipedia itself through recurrent modifications? And to which version of Wikipedia are you comparing?
I have not studied the way Wikipedia or Wikidata has been shifting, but I have studied how Wikidata compares to my encyclopedia corpus, which is also quite funny because then I realized how not standardized it is. I think going into the specific details of what I did would be too much for now. You can contact me if you want to know more. But as an answer to your question, no, the changes in Wikidata over the last years I have not looked at. And the specific dump I used was probably from 2022.
But as an addition, so we are in the Institute for the German Language, and this institute also collects different kinds of large language corpora, and we also have a collect and annotate and make available the discussions within Wikipedia, and these discussions pages give also some kind of hints on the change of the concept within the last, say, 20 years of Wikipedia development. So this is another source for if Jeroen is interested in finding some ways to get this knowledge, this would be another option. And of course, but as mentioned from Thora, we have not delved into this topic in this particular project.
The discussion page can certainly be a wealth of information. So if there's no more questions from the audience, I want to thank all of our speakers for this session. How about a round of applause for all of them?